And we're live. Hi, guys. Let's get some share around music going here, and we will share it around and we'll roll intro. All right. We'll roll intro, guys. Here we go. Play the music. Hello, friends, fans, and followers. Welcome to the ABTA Tuesday Night Live, your weekly source for tracking content, where we cover all things tracking and training. And we bring it to you the only way we know how. No nonsense and no politics. Good evening, man. How are you?
Good. All right. How are you, Matt?
I am as good as any, better than most, man. So, folks, the band of merry men joining us today is Brian Morrison in my top right, Alabama tracker, and newly exposed to testing, and my bottom right is Jason Smith, ABTA judge, also Alabama tracker. And to my bottom left, my Brady Bunch of Hollywood Squares grid is Kenny K-Dog Mullins, the man, the myth, and the legend. Men, how are you this evening?
Wonderful.
Couldn't get no better.
Don't get no better than this, does it?
I'm vital.
What's that, Kenny?
So I'm vital. I have a pulse, I think.
You got a pulse. You're alive. They're not looking for the embalming fluid or anything.
Not yet. Brandy might be.
Yeah, she's. You wonder what all those shovels and ropes were for, right? TR says, "What's up, John?" Hi, John. So, guys, hey, tonight. So I've been kind of really looking forward to this since Landon Manding mentioned it and kind of was telling me about it a little bit, and then talking with Jason and we're coming up, particularly here in the north. We're coming up on kicking off the testing season. It's a little bit different down here in Alabama where you guys are, because your weather is conducive to testing pretty much year round, maybe with the exception of the summer when it gets oppressively hot. But you can test in the winter. For here in Michigan, it's hard for us. You really can't year round unless you have a rare, no snow, unfrozen winter, which is pretty uncommon. So we're coming into the testing season. We're coming into the event season where there's a lot of testing going on. And, our last stream 2 weeks ago was talking about Kayla Tires elite test running Ralph Bennett's camo. So that was just a wonderful, wonderful discussion. And more so than the achievement of the first elite certification, which is an achievement in itself. I don't want to diminish that, but to me, it was the story, the story of camo and all she had been through to reach the pinnacle, in essence, of tracking achievement in terms of certifications. So that was really something that was fun. So we had that. Now, we're following it up with staying on the testing theme with Jason, Jason and Brian, talking about Brian's first ever test. From what I heard, Brian, and we haven't talked about this very much, just a couple of minutes before we went live, you and I actually had a conversation. So, just talking about your experience. I want you to tell us your story, man. You cited some pretty impressive stuff, at least to this northern guy, in terms of your tracking accomplishments. Your tracking background, your background as a dog hunter, and then, your perspective on testing, and then what led you to decide to test, and then your experience with Jason throughout the test and how that test, your perspective on testing now afterwards. But before we kick into that, Kenny, do you have anything you want to kick off and share before we dive in deep with Jason and Brian?
No, I'm just ready to dig into this because I used to have the same mindset as Brian. I want to see, I'm interested to hear if his reasoning is the same as mine, years ago.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And what I should say before we kick it off is, Jason was the test. Jason Smith, was the judge for Brian's test. You guys have known each other for a long time. You're in the Alabama blood trailing group together. So, Jason, we'll want to hear it from your perspective too. What you were seeing, what you were observing, and all of that. So, and I forgot to roll through the event schedule. We'll do that at the end because I got to pull it up. But yeah, man. Like Kenny said, let's dive in. Brian, tell us about Brian Morris. Where you're from, what you do, your outdoors background, and all of it, man.
Yeah, I'm in South Alabama, little town Brantley, but I'm an hour north of Florida line, hour south of Montgomery. We're kind of in the middle of all of it. Everybody that comes from out of town and hunts does it right here within an hour of me, pretty much. Butler, Lowndes County, big hunting areas for out of towners. It's I-65 right up through there, so it's the mecca of where it happens at. But
okay,
we just have to be in a convenient spot. But I grew up hunting dogs, running dogs for deer, coon hunted, done a little bit of everything. Bird hunted. If it was with a dog, I told somebody one time, if you could fish with a dog, I'd enjoy fishing. Coon hunting. I never owned a dog. Had a set of papers on it. Coon hunting, but we treat a bunch of coons. That didn't really make it difference to us. Never really owned a tracking system until about 2 years before I started tracking deer with. You know, we always had them that came home, but I grew up with hounds, so I stayed with a hound, and that's what I'm familiar with. I hunt with I track with a tree and walker dog.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
My son tracks with a running walker.
Really? Well, mine's half running, half tree, and so he's not full blooded. His mama was papered, his daddy wasn't. There's no rhyme or reason my gator does what he does, but his daddy was a hog dog and his mama was a coon dog. So
There you go.
he was just a cross that we ended up with a dog off of.
Oh, and guess what? No matter the cross, they still have a nose, right?
Yeah, his daddy was one of the hardest bay dogs. So I hear. I've never actually seen it, but they said he was one of the hardest bay dogs there was, and he's pretty solid himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just never. I've never had any desire to be certified to say, or only. It doesn't really matter to me. The dog was doing what I thought he should do.
Mm-hmm.
He was recovering a lot of deer. He put a lot of deer on the tailgate, and it really didn't matter if he had it or not. But with the changing of the tides here and trying to get everything in line to where it's recognized and separated, we kind of needed to be able to say that this is not a hunting dog. Because when I started out, that's what everybody said. Brian's got a deer dog. You don't want him tracking for you because he's got a deer dog, and that thing's gonna run every deer in the woods,
Yeah. So let's pause for a second here because I want to make a distinction. For we Northerners that have just have very different exposure. Okay. So in Alabama, you are allowed to hunt deer with dogs. You can hunt deer with dogs. In the north,
Florida, Georgia, South Carolina.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. A lot of those, and up here, that is taboo, man. It's just a cultural difference, right? We don't do it up here, and if you see a dog chasing a deer, it's bad. We don't. It just culturally, we don't like it. Tracking.
What? Y'all do man drives.
We do man drives. We do. Yeah.
We don't have the woods to do man drives.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to step across the swamps on the gator heads, but it's different up here. So when you talk about, you don't want Brian because he got a deer dog. People misunderstand or just automatically go to running deer as opposed to tracking a specific wounded deer or perhaps dead deer. So there is that distinction. There's nothing bad or wrong about either of them. They're just different and very, very culturally influenced, I guess we'll say. So
can we pause here and kind of take a second to explain the reality of hunting deer with dogs, tracking deer with dogs, and tracking off lead?
Yeah, I think we should. Yeah, go ahead.
So many people think that when we're tracking off lead, that we are just cutting dogs loose, sitting in the truck, and heading them off around, going around and trying to cut the dogs off like you would hunting deer with dogs, and that's just not how we do it. Maybe you do, Brian. No. Maybe you do, Jason, but I follow my dogs.
I've had hunters in the woods want to get ahead of the dog, and that is not what we're going to do. Then you go back to the dog hunting.
Right.
The ethics comes into question at that point. Is this deer wounded enough to recover, and then you go to breaking laws.
Yeah.
All that because as I was saying a minute ago, in certain places in Alabama you can't run dogs.
Right. So really? Okay.
It's so sectioned off. There's small parts of certain counties. You get into Montgomery County, which is just north of me, you can't do it. Bullitt County, you can't do it. parts of Pike County you can't do it. But
Oh, really?
there's
Okay.
sections in each county that you can and can't. Lowndes County, absolutely not. You cannot run deer with dogs there. Crenshaw County, it's got a section that you can't, which is where I live. So there, you can't do it everywhere, but you can run dogs in certain places in certain counties. And Chilton County, where Jason lives, I think they outlawed that 5 or 7 years ago. I was at the meeting where they shut that down. So it's not legal everywhere, but
Okay. What about tracking? Is it legal to track everywhere?
yes,
Yeah. Okay. And you're allowed to track off lead, right?
correct.
Yeah. So now, Kenny, back to that on lead, off lead. You're right. There's a stigma and an uninformed perspective that's what off lead tracking is, particularly for us in the north. I mean, Michigan was the first northern state in 2023 to allow off lead tracking. And that was quite the effort by a lot of people getting before the NRC and just explaining the difference between hunting and tracking, similar to what you talked about, and what a tracking dog is really doing. And they finally voted to allow off lead tracking and very much what you said. Hell, I track off lead and I'm following that red line everywhere for the most part. Maybe I'll cut a corner here or there, but for the most part, I'm on that red line, and I think the lion's share of Michigan off lead people do it that way. There's, I don't know. Can you believe this? I did a Freedom of Information filing with the Department of Natural Resources, and there were, because we have to register with the state to track. So I always like to know how many trackers were in the state. I did it last year. For the 2024 season, there were 241 registered trackers in Michigan. In registration, don't be fooled by what that means. It means you just, before they come out with a website, you just send them an email, say, hey, I want to be a tracker. Here's my driver's license and here's my stuff. And they send you a letter saying you can track now. Now you go online and fill out a form. You don't even have to have a dog. You don't have to have any kind of certification. It's just, but you have to be registered with them. So after this season, a month or so ago, I filed a FOIA request to get the 2025 data. Any guess on how many registered trackers there were in Michigan? How many, Kenny?
400.
Half of that. I bet it was 75.
You're 458.
Yeah. Ooh.
I about fell out of my chair.
You'd lose some with the extra work of doing it.
So
Yeah.
the only reason I guessed that number is because I kind of, obviously I track a lot of these states, and New York is one that's the same way, and I was speaking with one of the Deer Search members, and they were talking about there being, like 400 trackers, but in reality, there's maybe a third of that's actually tracking.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's how many are registered. I don't know what the percentage is. I think it's probably fairly high that really aren't tracking much. They just, send in their thing. And because you can't even take your porch dog and run back and track the deer that you just shot for yourself in Michigan unless you're registered. You're not supposed to do that. So I don't think there were that many people out tracking, but I don't know that. Michigan's not that big of a state.
A third of that third that I would refer to you.
Yeah. We're in the midst of collecting the data for the Michigan Deer Tracking Network to see how many tracks we went on as a group and how many recoveries we had as a group, and I'll be sharing that out once all the reports are in. But it's pretty cool to be able to see that, a group of 35 people, 35 teams, I'll say. Some of them are husband and wife teams, doing some pretty good work, doing some pretty good work. So, but we'll talk about too. So you mentioned some of the things going on in Alabama. There is some legislative movement or activity, I guess we'll say, in Alabama surrounding tracking. And we're not going to get into the depth of the detail. No, and it's a little lumpy. There's there's no reason we can't say that, but it's a little lumpy. Just trying to distinguish between what is a tracking dog and what is a hunting dog, and it's a fair conversation to have. So there's some activity around that, and that's kind of what led you, Brian, towards considering testing, right?
So yeah, and backing up a minute.
Yeah.
When I first started this, I was running gator on deer in the daytime for the first 2 years. I had him in the box with the rest of my deer dogs, and then at night we'd take him out, recover deer with him. Somebody'd call in the middle of a hunt, I'd load the rest of the dogs up and put them in a pen, and we'd go find them. But when you're looking at that, it's not the marketing of it. I reckon the view of it from the public is not real good when you're doing something like that. So we broke him off of that and quit doing it and left him home, or would ride him in the front seat and we'd run the rest of the deer dogs and leave him out of it, and then we just track with him. So it's been 5 years since he's been on a deer race per se, unwounded deer race. There's a total separation, and I wouldn't. Every dog wouldn't be able to do that. You wouldn't want them to do that because it would get confusing. And that was my, I reckon, rookie life, and me not knowing any better and not caring at that point. But I've changed perspective of what we do several times and come a long ways in my thought process of tracking deer in the last 7 years.
That's funny because my perspective changed too on testing. I've talked about it a lot here for different reasons and in different ways than yours has. But it's funny how your thinking evolves as you run into situations or are forced to based on rule changes or just experience.
My first couple, 2 or 3 years of doing this, it was more of trying to convince somebody to let you run your dog on their wounded deer and convince them that I'm not here to run your deer.
Yeah.
And I'm still to this day, how do you know? I get those questions. How do you know he's not running a deer? And all I can say is, give me just a minute. If you'll give me just a minute, I'll show you. And just, 300 yards later, you're baying a deer, and okay, there now here's my proof. I can't prove it while he's out there just running. I know what he's doing. I can tell the difference in his voice and the way he's acting.
Yeah. And I've never, and you probably mentioned earlier, but I've never thought of it that way because, again, that's not something we think about up here. So I never even considered someone. I mean, people know, how do you know he's tracking my deer? We get that a lot. How do you know he's on my deer? Well, because he's trained that way, and here's what they're looking for. But never having a distinction between hunting just any deer and tracking a wounded deer. That's see, there you go. That's just my narrow.
That's kind of the difference in the way Gator was trained and the way my Roxy dog was trained. So my Roxy dog went to a trainer, and he sent, I reckon I can call his name, Randall Duvall, trained my dog. And she's run a bunch of mock tracks. She's individually trained. Gator picked up on it, for lack of a better word. He trained himself. That dog taught me more than I'll be able to teach a dog. I had no idea what he was trailing, didn't know what interdigital scent was the first 2 years. Knew that I took somewhere where a deer was shot, and we could find it. And that's literally my ignorance of the whole situation of what went on. And that buddy JJ Stinson, he was telling me, "Oh yeah, you're trailing interdigital scent." I'm like, "I don't know what that is," but
Sometimes ignorance, there is bliss in ignorance. I will tell you that.
So what we run into here, Brian, and you can relate to this because you're a dog hunter. Where I'm at is like the dog hunting capital of the state in Florida.
right.
And what we run into is everyone thinks that their deer dog should be able to find a wounded deer. And so when people shoot one, they call their buddies with a deer dog. And now over the years, I mean, they've learned and we've tracked behind 20, 30 headed deer dogs. You know, we had a guy call us 2 years ago, said, "Hey, we were running dogs. And it's a dog hunt club. They have a still hunt section. So we track for their still hunters all the time."
Right.
But the guy calls us. He said, "I'm not gonna lie. You know, we dumped every box in the block." He said, "I pretty much know right where the deer is, but my dogs left and went to run another deer." And sure enough, he was spot on. I mean, it was right in that area. You wouldn't have seen it; it was underwater, but you know, we got it. But that's something that we battle here. Is so many people. I got deer dogs. I'll just cut them out. And you know, if you've ran deer dogs, you know yourself, you might have 1 out of 50 that'll do it.
Yeah.
That's right.
I fight the same thing. I fight the yard dogs. Me and Jason both do. We fight the yard dogs. We fight the deer dog.
Yep.
And we fight the trackers that really don't know what they're doing. And that's
Leave me out of this, Brian. Leave me out of this.
it's never ending here. And I don't want to get into the cost of what we charging or anything, but
Yeah.
if I'm coming behind a dog that's not a trusted dog that I know, it's double. You know, if you put your Maltese on it, guess what? It's now cost you double for me to even try it. And you know, odds of it are they're going to get you put something else on it, you go down by 75% in your recovery rate, in my opinion.
Yep.
You're killing yourself when you're doing that, and the deer dog is not the way to go. Well, your pet than
Similarities, but entirely different discipline.
yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. It's just, I don't know. That's fascinating to me. It's just not something that is a thing up here. We just don't think about it. We just don't really talk about it much. It's so different.
Taking 8 of your buddies in there and trying to track it though.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's
damage. 6 or 8 of your buddies calling everybody in your phone book that hunts and saying, "Hey, come help me find this deer." That's a terrible, terrible idea.
Yes, it is. You know, certainly not preferred. And we talk about that a lot of, you know, grid searches and best way to approach them. Best thing to do is just age the grid search more than the line. Let that human scent dissipate. But so let's talk about, maybe, because I was taken aback, Brian, by Jason. I haven't thrown it to you much. You want to add anything or comment on anything?
No, what Brian said is about spot on. The hunters here, they don't trust your dog. Me and Brian's been behind both each other. We'll have hunters call us both, and he came, but he didn't find it. Well, you come look for it, and it's like, look, mine and his dogs are so similar, and they hunt the same. We trust them.
Yeah.
Usually it's like, no, but if you want me to, it's going to be very, very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And me and him, we both talked about trying to cut the yard dogs out. Is we all try to talk around this area and tell them, hey, we're going to charge double just to make the folks quit doing that. Because it's working us and the dogs to death. Like you're saying, Brian taking over 300 tracks a year. Kenny knows how that is. And when you're running that hard, the last thing you want to do is go out there and go behind another dog or two.
Yeah, that's pushed it 4 properties over in another mile and a half. Yeah. Yep. And not even knowing it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the question. Well, is he still on your property? Well, that's the other thing. But
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Brian, Jason just kind of let us into it, man. You know, I was pretty impressed by how accomplished I'll say you are, or perhaps experienced in the terms of how many tracks you and your old Tree and Walker have got under your belts, man. Tell us a little bit about that, because to me it's impressive.
Yeah, we averaged for the past 4 or 5 years about 300 a year, 300 trips a year. Telling TR this morning on the phone, last year I probably took 500 phone calls over a deer. Now, we give a lot of tracks away. I've got a trusted group of guys that work off my Facebook page that, you know, I tell them all the time, I'm not going to send you something that's trash. I'm not going to send you a junk dog. And if I send you somebody, I'm willing to come behind them, you know,
Yeah.
and help them out. And but yeah, we run pretty hard. We'll be give out and he'll be skin and bones by the time it's over with. Now
Yeah.
I
I was
lost
going to say 300 tracks a year with one dog.
Yep. I think I took Roxy on 10 or 12 trips this year. Maybe.
And you've averaged that over 6 or 7 years, you said, right?
5. The last 5 years has been average of 3 trips.
So 1,500.
Yep.
1,500 tracks, man.
Yep.
With one dog. I mean, it's a lot. I tell you, so what do you do, Brian? Do you have flexibility in your day job, or is running dogs your day job, or what?
Yeah, he don't work.
A lot on the weekends.
Yeah, because I have a classic corporate gig, you know, and I ran 86 a year before and 82 last year, and I want to get to 100. I think it's gonna be hard for me having a full-time corporate gig, you know, job. It's hard for me to, you know, a lot of weekends and 1 or 2 at night after work is really what it amounts to.
A lot of 2 and 3 o'clock mornings. No, I mean, on weekends, there's times where, you know, you leave on Friday afternoon, you take off on Friday, track all day on Friday, you leave on when the sun goes down, the phone starts ringing again. You got 5 or 6 tracks lined up. You're coming in at daylight, and then by daylight, you still haven't got cleaned up from yesterday. So you're trying to give tracks away that's coming in right now. Yeah, it's hell to juggle for real.
That's madness, man. Yeah, I was telling you before we went on, and Daryl, if you're listening, you know, I got my buddy I call the Mid-Michigan Madman, and he's full tilt boogie all the time, man. I really really admire what he does, and wish I had the grit that he does. I gotta sleep, man.
During the rut there was a 3-day period during the rut, you know. Martin Luther King weekend is when it always happens here. Gets stupid. Just
really?
I think it was 27 phone calls one afternoon. 27, and at that point I'm writing them down on a piece of paper. I got a notepad at that point, writing them down and saying, "I'm with you, figure it out."
Yeah.
You get 27 within 2 hours. That's rolling. And I'm calling anybody and everybody I can, just numbers and saying, "Hey, call this one." Last deer season during Martin Luther King weekend, TR drove slam to help us calls.
I don't know how you do it, man. That is absolutely insane.
Well, every year year I say I'm going to cut back. So what I started doing was cutting down on the distance that I went.
Right.
And my numbers never went down. So that told me, you know what? I was missing out on a lot of close tracks because I was traveling so far.
Yeah, that's just what I was saying. It just made you available for all those ones you weren't available for when you were driving.
This past year I was giving counties to people, like everything in Crenshaw County. I live in Crenshaw County. I drove to Pike County that morning, went to tracking deer, and I tracked over there till, I don't know, 9 or 10 o'clock that night. And there was 2 guys within 8 miles of my house tracking pretty much all day long.
Yeah.
come here after I went over there. So,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I do it first come, first serve, wherever they're at. That's where I go. And once I get over there and another one calls from over there, I just try to give everything else conveniently away to whoever's closest there.
Yeah. Yep. The tracking list juggle.
I literally, that Martin Luther King week, one day I had a friend ride with me, just so they could answer the phone and write the names down.
Yeah, there's a couple people in my network here that his wife takes the calls and kind of maps it out for him and acts as I'll say administrative assistant, but I don't mean that in a degrading way or diminishing at all. But and hell, I wish I had one. At times, and again, what I do can't compare to what you guys do. I don't want to pretend like I can, but it does get a little hectic, man.
By the end of the day, most of the stories you're hearing, you could finish the story for them.
Yeah.
They start the story and you stop them and say, all right, I can finish this for you. I can tell you the rest of it, how this is going to go.
Yep. Yeah, I've done that before. That's funny.
I'm fortunate. I got Mo. All y'all have met Mo, so she kind of keeps my stuff straight. Just tells me which one to go to next.
That's awesome.
Hey, I gotta grab a phone charger real quick. Hang on.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Yeah. That's awesome. How's that pup doing, Jason?
She's doing fine. She's gorgeous. Playing. She's in the house right now, actually.
Yeah, mine's right here. So for those that don't know, Kenny and Jason and I, we all met at Ladner's in whatever it was in January, and picked up our blackmouth cur all out of the same litter. So I got to meet Jason there, and
mine was out of a different litter.
Oh, you got two of them.
Yes.
You got one. One was out of the same litter, wasn't it? Or were they both out of different litters?
Both were out of different litters.
All right, so we're not talking to you.
I wanted the better ones.
You want? Oh, is that what it was? You wanted the better ones.
Well,
yeah.
Mine's out of a different litter too. I'm with Kenny.
Yours is out of a different litter too, Jason?
Yes, sir. Remember they was a little bigger. They're like 2 weeks older.
I got to kick you guys out of the Facebook group I started then. You guys don't have a royal and silver dog. Well, your dogs are special, Vicky says. Yeah, cool, man. But that was cool. Yeah, I haven't done really anything in terms of scent work or trailing training yet. Just acclimating and just letting her be a puppy for a while, working on some basic sit and hear kind of thing. That's really all we're doing. So
I'm still working on that with my wife.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm waiting for the frying pan to come flying into the screen.
Yeah, let us know how that works out.
Yeah.
That's what the stock collar's for.
I got you back, Brandy. Okay. So, Brian, let's talk about, so we know what got you thinking about maybe you should consider a test. I guess I was a little harsh in the title saying you were an anti-tester. Maybe you were at one point, maybe you were, then you just became a non-tester, and then at some point here fairly recently, maybe it was Jason put you in a headlock and you thought, okay, man, maybe with the changing tides here in Alabama and my man Jason beat me up a little bit. Maybe I should give it a test. Talk to us about some of that, Jason. You can chime in here too. What was the decision process like for you?
I'm sure he has his version.
Yeah,
I believe he's seen how much Gator's done and he's proud of it. And he actually, me messing with him about it, it wasn't much to do. But he wanted Gator to have them credentials to also say, hey, this is not a deer dog. He's found right at 500 deer. And he that certificate meant more to him the other day than it would have in the past few years. He's taken a lot more serious of what that dog means to the state or these counties around here.
Hmm.
That's accurate. The dog deserves the recognition, I think,
That's right.
fully. Me and Jason talked about this several times about I don't do it necessarily for the hunter. It, I don't mean that ugly or rude or
Yeah.
however it sounded. I don't do it for the hunter. I never ran dogs for the kill. I never treat a coon for the kill. I did it for the dog, for the passion of the dog. Um, and if you don't have that drive in you, you're doing it for the wrong reason, in my opinion. But it's all about the dog. It's always been about the dog. So yes, the recognition of the dog is really big. You know that's important to me. I grew up with some jam up, some really really good dogs, even bird dogs. You know, and my uncle had one, basically a brother to us. But you know, and it's always the dove hunting. It wasn't any fun with the dog, and we still do it now, and we don't have a bird dog, but there's a passion in that too. But the passion is the dog. But no, I never had any
Yeah.
desire to get him certified because we were, you know, he was doing what we wanted him to do. He, we were enjoying just recovering deer, and that was proof enough to be able to post a picture with him standing beside a dead one. You know, that didn't matter if it was a button buck or a 170-inch deer. To us, it didn't matter. We just wanted to post pictures of deer. We wanted
Yeah.
to go.
No, that's what that's what I tell people too. The size of the deer, the gender of the deer doesn't freaking matter. It's about the track.
And
You
the
know,
paper,
it doesn't make a bit of difference to me.
and the piece of paper at that point didn't matter either. I can do it with it or without it. It doesn't. That wasn't important. But the what's gotten us to this point, I guess, is we're trying to push this new agenda of fix it to where we don't have to compete with that deer dog. We don't have to compete with that house dog. We don't have to go
Right.
behind that stuff. And there's a legit legal way to say this dog can track. Well, to be able to do that, you got to be able to separate yourself from those two. If
Yeah.
we can't separate ourselves from the deer dog, then
You,
we're no better off. So the certification kind of went. That's where Jason talked me into it, and you know I kept telling Jason, I'm like, there's no way this dog may not even pass this test. Uh, he's never ran one, doesn't know anything about. He's gonna look at me. That's what I told him right when we got out of the truck. I said, this dog's fixing to look at me like I'm stupid, and tell me that this ain't real and there ain't no deer out there. That's just the way I feel about it. Jason laughed at me. He's gonna do it. It's gonna be all right. He's been reassuring through the whole thing, and it worked out.
no, and that's funny. So you really were looking for a differentiator. That's really what we're talking
Yeah,
about.
we're looking to
How do you
separate.
differentiate yourself from a hunting dog to a tracking dog, and the certification was the way to do it. Now, and you run no mock tracks going up to this test, right?
Never
No,
laid a mock track. Never.
never laid a mock track for
The test was Gator's first mock track of his life.
First ever. He'd never done it.
And I you know, full disclosure, I was the committee member that approved your lines and approved your test, so I got to see your line and everything. So that was cool. I thank you for letting me be a part of that, Jason. That was awesome. So okay, so you needed a differentiator, and you went into this thinking, having no clue what was going to happen. It really kind of sounds like you were kind of leaning towards this could be a mess because there ain't no dead deer at the end of this, right?
He's gonna fail it. This ain't gonna take long because he's not gonna do this. He's gonna fail this real quick. But
Joke's on you.
So let me ask you: did it feel like a real track?
Absolutely. I've told several people, and there was some guys that's tested since me that I've told they needed to go do this. Ben McCrory, Drew said that's two of them. I told him, I said, that's the hardest dead deer I've ever recovered right there.
Yeah.
It was legit.
And so let's qualify, Jason, and I'll let you chime in a little bit as leading up to the test. It was a starter level test, a starter level certification, and just to refresh people, the starter level certification is 400 to 500 yards, 290-degree turns, one wound bed, a property stop, age 2 to 6 hours, 2 ounces of blood. That is the test standard. It's got to meet all of those things. So that's the line you ran, and I can tell you because I approved the line. You were at the outer limits of the distance, and 500 yards, in my opinion, isn't all that far anyway.
No.
But it's very. You probably recover plenty of deer within that 500-yard range.
Absolutely.
So it's very real. So that was the test, or that's the test criteria, and it's still, I think it's awesome. And remember, we're talking about a dog that had 1,500 tracks under its belt and never run a mock line in its life until Jason dragged you tooth, fang, and claw to this test.
Yep.
All I wanted to see was him put his nose down and know he was tracking it, so I could be. Until I saw him do it, I couldn't hardly breathe.
So you had
and he wasn't my dog, but I had been telling Brian, I said, he'll do it. He'll do it, I'm telling you. And when I saw him put his nose down and start tracking, I was just like, oh, yes.
Yeah. So, okay. So now walk us through it, man. So you're there. Jason gives you the pre-track briefing, all the criteria, all the things. And now he says, it's all you, dog. Knock yourself out so we can start the clock because they are timed. You got 30 minutes. That's your thing, man. You got 30 minutes to run a started line.
It took me 21, I think it was, Jason.
Yes, I can't remember, but yeah.
20,
I can find out.
I'll
look. It took so
he took off, and that first night he knew it had done something there, and I knew, but by reading his reaction, that it had done something that first 90. But like Jason said, he walked up there to the shot site and put his nose right down and went to tracking, and I was a little bit. I had zero expectations, so my nerves were nothing at this point. It didn't matter if he passed it or failed it; he was going to be proud one way or the other, right? But that first 90, whenever he got to it, he went by it, and he never would blow it. He never would go outside his limit, and he just kept working and working and working, and I just stood there and just let him do his thing because on a track, I don't talk to my dog. I don't work my dog. He does everything.
I don't either.
Yeah, we don't. I'll look for blood, but other than try to, when he stops, I know something's happening. This thing did something different here, so I just kind of stood there and let him.
He doesn't push the dog at all.
Nope, stay back. We watched that dog work that day more than I watched the dog work all year long because he's usually not within sight. I'll stand in the food plot and let him do everything he does. And when he comes to a halt, then we all right, let's go look at your deer.
Well, Kenny and Matt, y'all appreciate this, or Kenny sure will. When y'all made the rules of being 75 yards off the line.
Yeah.
That dog at that 90 so many times went to 68 to 72 and come back. Because I was fixing to say, call him back. But he would just be right there, and he never would break the 75.
That's where most of our time was spent, was right there.
Oh, yeah.
Once he turned, it was gone. We were through with it. He went on with it then, but just breaking that, getting out of that little hole right there, and like Jason said, he'd come back to us, and then he worked back out, and then he tried a different way, and he kept on working. He tried to the left and back to the right, and he was like, something ain't right. And finally,
so that is Kenny seeing dogs do that so many times and created that 75-yard buffer when they created this. It was so on money on that track. I wish I could just show everybody where he just did that. Yes, he did. He had 2 callbacks, both on them 90s, but it was after so many tries that he stayed at that 68, 70. He just never broke it.
Jason,
Yeah.
what was his line shape? Was it a horseshoe or a lightning bolt?
Lightning bolt.
He was a lightning bolt. Okay, I'm trying to find it.
It should be in February 13th.
Yeah, I've got because you ran 4 or 5 tests that day, right?
It wasn't that day.
It wasn't that day.
No,
No, it was
Oh.
week Saturday.
I think
after-
Landon judged that one. I'm pretty sure.
It was either the Saturday after season or the Saturday after that, somewhere around the 15th.
Oh, okay. Oh, here it is right here. You with Gator. 14 minutes, 15 seconds.
14 minutes. Yeah, I bet we spent 7 of them right there in that first 90.
I can see it right here. I can see it right here on the Garmin line. So,
I had not even done any research of what these tracks were supposed to be, what was involved in them. I knew absolutely nothing. I knew it was supposed to be 400 to 500 yards. That's it. Didn't know there was supposed to be 290s. Didn't know anything about a property line. But I knew that when we pulled up to where we were, because I had been on this property before,
mhm.
we were nowhere close to the property line. And I walked up to that thing and I was like, there's a no trespassing sign over there. I'm like, hey, what's up with the property line? He's like, oh yeah, well that's the neighbors, but we got permission. I'm like, oh, okay. You got me there.
That means Jason, I got to call you out. You're supposed to brief him on that. That's funny.
Oh, he knew all about that.
He knew all about that. Okay, I
He
got
wasn't
you.
thinking about it at the time. I tell you that.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I got you.
It blew my mind at that moment. But I talk
Yeah.
about so much tracking that hell I lose. My memory's terrible at this point.
Oh, I get it, man. So I got to ask you. So you completed the test, 14 minutes, 15 seconds. You were close to callbacks, but Vicky asked, was it an on-lead test? No, Vicky, it was off-lead with a 75-yard. You're allowed 75 yards off the line for off-lead test. So he was crowding it, but never got there, Jason. And so what's your big takeaway, Brian, from the test? I mean, did you like, oh my gosh, did you learn something? Were you some kind of great awakening or discovery or curiousness or anything like that?
It's got me really curious what the next step's going to be. If that one was that hard, then the next step's going to have to be something. Absolutely.
And that's funny. So now you got to do it because I want to have you come back on your season test. But I will tell you what, you have probably in 1,500 lines, you probably run 1,000 season level real tracks.
Probably
Because
yeah, we don't find very many deer within 50 or 75 yards of the truck. That don't happen.
Yeah, and in the season level test, that's why am I drawing a blank here? 800 to 1,000. It's not that far, is it? Why am I drawing a blank on it?
No, that's right.
I think that is right. Yeah, 800 to 1,000. I got it right here. My little briefing cards right here. Season level test. Yeah, it's 800 to 900 actually. It's 800 to 900.
Okay. I can't remember. I got to look at it every time.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah, 800 to 900 yards, and that's pretty very realistic, I think.
Taking it back to the test, he didn't know what Gator would do with the hide, so made a couple calls just to make sure. Hey, does this dog have to pull on the hide? Just making sure we got all our, T's
Can
crossed.
he lead us to it, or does he have to acknowledge that the hide is there? Because acknowledging
Well,
the hide is there may be difficult because he's not. And when he got there, he wasn't looking for that.
he looked just like any of our dogs that we start on this, on their first track, finding the hide, and he's found so many deer.
Yeah,
He was running around looking at the ground like the deer should be there. and the hide slapping him in the face.
But it's not a deer. It's just a
It's
chunk
not
of
a
a deer.
deer. And me and Brian are like 30 yards from this, dying laughing. And I'm going, Brian, he's found so many deer. He's sitting here looking at the ground, going, Dad, it should be right here.
You got to be here. And he got downwind of it. He would get downwind of it. That was another thing. Jason laid the track to where the wind was blowing at our back. So
Good job, Jason.
Yeah, good job, man.
It wasn't blowing, and it wasn't in our face, so he couldn't have cheated. It
Yeah.
was all at our back. Even when we got to the hide, it was blowing the other way. So he would get downwind of it and put his nose up and work right back to it, and then like there's nothing here. And then he'd start over and he'd make a loop and come right back to it. And we got a good tickle out of that.
Yeah, that poor dog. I hope you treated him well after that. You guys pulled a fast one on him, he thought, I'm sure.
We took it out of the tree and showed it to him and played with him with it then. And then he wanted to take it away from Jason on the way back to the truck.
Oh, that's awesome.
Honestly, the hardest part of testing is your own nerves. You know, it gets in your head, and finally, I've ran enough tests now, and I still get nervous. Don't get me wrong, and I, especially as my finish test, I was more relaxed than probably any test I ever been on. And it was more, hey, if we fail, it's because the dog failed. I'm going to remove myself from the equation. Well, I still put myself there one time, and then I quickly realized, wait a minute, what am I doing?
Yeah.
And more people fail themselves than their dogs fail.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that's true as well. I'm largely the reason I failed my finish test, and I really had pretty good success testing both UBT and ABTA up until my finish test. My finish test was the first one we failed, and it was an eye opener. And Alan Barrett's really is commenting that he wants to do a finish test this year, and yeah, do it, Alan. But I'm telling you, it's no joke. I mean, the finish test is legit, man.
I imagine.
Talking about too much Xanax. If there's enough, I can take that much Xanax at one time. Yeah, but what the hell? Who cares? You know what? The way I look at it, and the way I tell people, first of all, it's okay to be a little nervous because it means you care and it means you want to do well. And Brian, you are a little bit of an odd duck in that you've never run a mock line and didn't really do anything to prepare except for run your dog on 1,500 real live tracks. But in all seriousness, you didn't. Hey man, okay, because what most people do, they're going to say, okay, finish test is 4,500 yards, 290 degrees. They're going to set it up and they're going to run it. They're going to make sure that they know what their dogs does. So they're nervous about it, making sure that they, trusting the dog and all of that. So I always tell people it's just a freaking tracking test. Who cares if you fail? So what? You can do it again. You're gonna, the worst case scenario is you get a little private, mini private lesson because you can still finish the test out. You and then you can learn something about your dog. And don't get me wrong, we all want the ribbon. We all want to take that photo with our dog with the ribbon. Again, Brian, you're a little bit of a unicorn here, and you didn't have nerves. What the hell? What do I care? Just testing is ain't no thing, whatever. But most people want that. I want that, and it's a nice validation that does the ribbon. We've said this a bazillion times on this podcast. You get a ribbon or a lesson. That's what Ethan says. And sometimes you get both. But, the ribbon doesn't find the deer. The work that you put in.
That's been my whole point the whole time.
Is what finds the deer.
Paper to find that deer. But, it is an accomplishment.
It is an accomplishment, and you worked for it and you earned it. And it's okay to be proud of it. It's okay to display your ribbons. I love it. I'm proud of this back there. I think my dog is decent. I don't think she's anything outstanding. I'm an okay handler. I'm a decent handler, but I'm proud of that stuff because we worked for it and we set a goal and we achieved it.
We actually had 2 dogs this year that had never been run on a mock track. Ben McCoy's dog was never ran on a mock track, and he passed it.
9-year-old Beagle, the Beagle you checked, Matt,
Okay.
the one that smoked the track.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
had it.
9-year-old Beagle never has run a mock track.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm starting to, and I think I in our text exchange when you sent me that line, I think I commented on it. I haven't run a lot of tests, and I've only run a couple of Beagles. I've only run 2 Beagles, as a matter of fact, and one of them was my buddy Jim. He ran the finish test here, and I tested him on and started in his season test before the Michigan event last June, where he passed his finish line. That doggone dog is the most locked in, freaking focused line straight. I'm like, what? And then you said, that line you sent me, had zero surprise that it was a Beagle. So I don't know anything about Beagles, but I have. What's that, Kenny?
So I've trained a lot of them.
And they're pretty damn good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I like them. I mean, I just a little bit of exposure I've had to them.
All Ben told me, he said he's got to bark. If he don't bark, he's never going to take it because when he runs open on the track. So,
okay, yeah.
So his hardest thing was going to take that track. He hunted right there at the beginning. That was the longest time, and he hit. And when he hit, he never stopped. And as soon as he hit, Ben looked at me and smiled and said, "We got him now." And he
that's all
he did. He did. And man, that little old dog did outstanding. But going back to what you were saying, Matt, people training their dogs and getting ready for a test. We told you about Norman Parks that we ran that day. He had run his dog all week. And he told me and Landon, he said, "I wasted my money." He said, he did everything you could possibly do to mess up. He had all kinds of things happen, and it was crazy. And that's the dog that ran the track in 3 minutes.
Three stinking minutes. And that was that jetpack mad ass Lacey, right?
Yeah. That Lacey, we got out there, and I mean, Norman, I've tracked with Norman a bunch. I knew the dog, how it tracked, and he just looking at me like, "We're finna fail this, Jason." And that dog took off. And I really thought, yeah, it's finna blow smooth through this 90 as hard as it was running and be gone. He hit the 90, and me and Landon sitting there looking, and it's like he just smoked that 90 running wide open. And then he hit the other one, and it's like, oh my goodness. And I looked at Landon and I said, he's at the high, and it was 3 minutes and like 12 seconds.
3 minutes, 12 seconds. And he ran that freaking line like a Formula One car, huh?
And I didn't, I'm back there not saying nothing to Norman. He still looks like a nervous wreck, like, oh, I don't know what the dog's doing. And then he come back, and then he told him, he said he saw that the dog come straight back to him, and he knew it then. He said, "Take me to it." And he went. He was ecstatic. And Norman's in his 70s, man. And he just knew awesome. That dog was going to fail, but he didn't.
Yeah.
I'll share a story kind of similar. John and I, we were training tackle for Stanley Thrasher, who is from Alabama.
He's 10 minutes up the road from me.
Okay. So Stanley sent us this dog, and he wanted UBT tested. And so we were working this dog, and I got real busy with work. So the last week, John was working by himself, or last week and a half. And so John said, "She's ready. Let's go ahead and schedule the test." So I scheduled the test for Friday. I got home Wednesday. John laid a track, so I was going to work her on a blind track. She wouldn't take the track. And I was stressed out. We were doing hurricane work, I think it was. And I was stressed, working a lot of hours. And she wouldn't take the track. I was getting frustrated. And I just said, you know what? I kind of got upset at John. I said, "You told me this dog was ready. Now I've lined up the judge. I've already told the owner of the dog we're going to test, and now this dog won't take a track." So I called Stanley and I told Stanley, I said, look, I don't know what's going on. I said, we may fail this, but I already told the judge that I was coming. I've already booked a hotel room. You know, I got a 5.5 hour drive. And so we got there. I called the judge. I was honest with him. I said, we're going to fail this. It's probably a waste of your time, but I'm going to come because, I told you. He's like, well, you don't have to. I said, no, I'm going to. I already got it all planned out. We got there. It was an on-lead test with a Teckle, 7.5 minutes.
Yeah.
He says, I thought you said this dog wasn't tracking. I said, I don't know, man. Maybe she just sensed my tension and stress and just shut down on me. But then when I went into the test, like, all right, we're going to fail, it is what it is. And I literally, I clipped that lead on and put her on the ground. We walked up to the shot site and she ran as fast as those little legs would go the whole trail.
No, that's not true, Kenny, because you can't run as fast as her little legs would go. So, so she was. Yeah,
I ran that 500. I think it was 580 yards in the 7.5 minutes with her.
Is he still tracking? I haven't heard from him in a long time.
No, his health won't let him.
Yeah. So, Jason, when are you going to make Brian run his season line?
That's all on him there, brother.
Good luck. We may run it with Roxy.
Yeah, that's his next thing. He wants to get his little Roxy female tested. He feels more confident with
I can't
her.
hear you, Jason.
Still can't hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, he's wanting to run Roxy next to get her certificate.
No, Brian saying no.
I can't hear him.
I had to turn mine off and back on, Brian.
Can you hear us, Brian?
I can.
But you can't hear Jason. That is odd because we can hear Jason fine. That's very strange.
He don't need to hear me.
Now you can say whatever you want about him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he can watch. Brian can watch it back, so
Yeah.
and hear it for real. Yeah. Well, that's weird. Well, that's awesome, man. So that so from a pure out objective perspective, you believe now that there is credibility in the testing your dog.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. They like I said earlier, it's the hardest 450-yard dead deer I've ever tracked.
Yeah. Yeah, that
it keeps you motivated in the off season too.
What's that?
Yeah.
It keeps you motivated in the off season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, if you're preparing for the season test that you'll be taking here in another month or so, with Roxy, you got to get through the starting level first. You can do them in the same day. Jason will be glad to lay both lines for you, knock out that season, go to lunch or that started.
Whenever I back, 2 or 3 years ago when I even talked about it, I just wanted to go run a season test with Gator. After doing that, there ain't no way that you don't go from one to the. I wouldn't run them both in the same day. There's no way.
Oh, I guess you could, especially if you run a couple of mocks. How many lines Roxy got under her belt, roughly?
The last one she ran was when Randall Duvall had her.
Okay.
She is 4 years old, so she hadn't run one since she's been to my house.
Okay. Yeah, you might want to prep up a little bit, but I bet you if you did some prep work, got her tuned up, Jason, you know better than I do. I bet you could do it.
I've been really, really spoiled with Gator. He's something different. And Jason, to tell you, you're not going to see a walker dog that'll do that very many times in your lifetime. And I believe it. I mean, I've owned 100 of them. We've been through some dogs at my house.
Yeah.
he's a freak. They just don't come out like that.
Well, that's cool, man.
She's
That's
pretty
one
good.
thing
She's probably better than I give her credit for. But
Jason's saying affirmative. Yep, that's about
hey,
it.
but I can see, yeah, she's probably better than I give her credit for. But you pull up at a track, and Bobby Kelly, one of my long time, I've tracked for him a lot, and I pulled up for him one night and had Roxy in the box, Gator in the box, and I got her out. He said, what you doing? I said, we're gonna track it with Roxy. He said, where's Gator at? I said, he's right there. It'll be okay. It'll be
Yeah.
okay. They don't want to see her come out of the box. So that's why I put so much time into him and carried him and not given her the opportunity that he's had, is because we built our name on what he's done.
Yeah.
What he does every time we get him out of the box. And it's hard to get another one out of the box and work another dog when you've got that. We've
Well,
relied.
I'm about ready to find out because I just got my Ladner right here causing trouble as a second dog. They'll be 10 months. She'll be 10 months, and when the season rolls around, and I want to get her on tracks, but so I'm worried about that. The old security blanket of the bloodhound. The proven bloodhound.
That's going to go away fast.
Yeah, well, maybe so. I've heard that, and it might, Kenny. I'm not going to pretend like it's not, but my point is, I hear that all the time. When people get the second dog never gets the work that the first dog does, and it's hard, and all of that. So, and then like you said, building the reputation. People say, I have lots of friends that have more than one dog, and they want the dog that started it all, or the dog that's found their deer for them before.
Yeah,
it's just human nature, If the dog found your deer that you don't believe you would have found, that dog is the best dog in the whole world.
Yeah,
and that's and they want that dog, to me, that's kind of cool, but
that call all the time. I found a deer for their friend. Hey, I hear you got a dog that can find my deer. Well, they're gonna promise I can find your deer, but I found theirs.
Yeah,
each one's a little bit different.
I just tell them if it's dead, we'll find it.
Yeah,
You'll find it too. We may not recover it, but
my success depends on your shot.
that's right.
I
tell them all the time, if it's dead, we got a good chance.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. Let's so Jason, let's just walk, Brian, let's just walk through so you can start doing the mental gymnastics on whenever you schedule your season test with Jason. But it is 800 to 1,000. Kenny, you were right originally. Ethan corrected me. My cheat sheet is wrong, and I remember now that my cheat sheet was wrong. 800 to 1,000 yards. You are shown the hit site, but not direction of travel. It's 2 ounces of blood. It 390-degree turns. There's a scent puzzle. And what am I missing, Jason? Scent puzzle, 390-degree turns. I don't know.
2 wound beds.
2 wound beds, one of which you're required to find, not in terms of pass fail, but we want you to find at least one of them. And it is 8 to 12 hours aged. So pretty fresh still. I mean, I consider a 12-hour line. That's still a pretty that's very old line, But
24 to 36 hours. My oldest is 76.
See, that's insane to me. Yeah, I got a buddy of mine. I've told this before. His oldest is 120 hours. Legit stone cold track in very good scenting conditions. Everything kind of aligned right. But of course he uses a bloodhound, so I mean I shouldn't be surprised by that, Kenny. But
had a 1-inch rain in between it.
There was moisture. Yeah, there was moisture, But
and I think it was like a 350-yard track.
Yeah.
I mean, he blew through it like it was 30 minutes ago.
Really?
When he left, he was kicking dirt. The boy kept saying there was blood here. There was blood here. There was blood here. Yep. We got to the top of the hill and was looking through a bottom over there, and buzzards flushed over. I said, "There's your deer."
Sure enough. Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's cool, man. Well, that's awesome. Let's Jason, you have anything you wanna chime in on? We'll grab some comments here.
No, I'm good.
Yeah. Apparently, you guys know Blake Ryder. So
Oh yeah.
y'all all must be hard up to for a host to let Brian and Jason on the big screen.
Y'all don't send him his certificate.
What's that?
Don't send
send-
Blake
yeah.
his certificate.
Yeah. Perry Lawrence asks, in Florida, deer dogs, hunting dogs, not tracking dogs, have to be registered, don't they? Question mark.
Yes, you. So they have to have a registration. You have to register them for the property that you're going to be hunting them on, and that number.
No kidding. Oh wow.
Yeah, that number has to be on their collar. You have to have name, phone number, address, and the DD number, the deer dog number, and you have to have the permit in your possession. Now, if it's state land, you have to get a permit, a deer dog permit for state land. And there's some requirements on the amount of contiguous acres to be able to get that permit and all that. But
Okay.
Yep.
There you go, Perry. Mitchell Smith says, if I could only, this is back when we were having the on lead versus off lead discussion. If I could only track on lead in South Georgia, I would only track for myself and family. No way I would do it for the public. I hinder my dog way too much on lead. Woods are way too rough. I would tell you, man.
I agree.
Yeah, having went 2 seasons, because my second year tracking, I could have tracked off lead. It was legal, but we weren't ready for it. My dog wasn't. Her recall wasn't good enough, and I was too scared. Her recall might have been better than I was giving it credit for, but I was just too scared to do it. So we stayed on lead. But our third year, we went out full off lead. And I'm telling you, man, it is liberating. It is, and that truthfully, it allows me to do more tracks because
I believe what he's saying, because here in South Alabama, there's no way I'm following my dog through some of the stuff that he goes
Oh
through.
yeah.
You know, on government woods here, certain places you can't track off lead. You know,
Yeah.
So I don't go to those places. I tell they'll call from the National Forest or the management area, and they'll be like, sorry, I can give you some phone numbers to some guys that do it that way, but we can't do it that way because I just, and Gators never tracked on lead. You go to snapping a leash on his collar, that means it's over, because that's how we used to lead him out of the woods. But
yeah, for him, it's one.
And we go to the truck, and he's at my hip.
Yeah, see here where I'm at, we have to be able to track on lead because we have such small properties or properties close to busy roads. Right. And if we're close to a busy road, nobody's deer is worth my dog.
That's right.
In any circumstance. So, I'll hook her up if we're near roads or really super small properties, but
we train every dog on lead. Even if they're going to track off lead, we train them on lead.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'm having a little bit of this ping pong or pendulum thinking on training. I trained everything on lead initially. Then when we became, started working to become off lead, I went off lead and loved the liberation and loved the freedom. And you can learn a whole ton with your electronics and watching the dog when they have the freedom to do what they naturally want to do without you behind them 30 feet screwing them up. You can learn a whole ton. But now, I've recently discovered, a few things that I need to work on, and I'm going to put her back on lead to work on these specific things, so I can be there and make that immediate correction, when we need to. I mean, nothing devastating, but I have this pendulum, man. There's benefits to both. I guess it just depends on the mission and the purpose. But
I do the same as Kenny. I start them every dog on lead.
Yeah, I'm going to this.
And then, once I got a good handle, or I think they've got it kind of figured out, then I turn them loose.
Yeah, for sure. Tell you what,
I
guys,
think a lot of, if you just start them off lead, I think it starts a lot of bad habits. Is what
Wow.
I
It's- I think it should. I think it sure could. I gotta let this one outside, so you guys talk amongst yourselves for a minute. Tell jokes about Kenny.
You still can't hear Brian?
If y'all can hear me, I can't hear anybody.
You can't hear us?
I guess not.
Okay. So he probably got a phone call. And if you get a phone call, sometimes it'll cut the audio out and you got to leave the app and come back in. Maybe someone can text
Can you
him
hear
or
me?
something. Yeah.
We can hear you. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I did a while ago. I had to leave it and come back.
Did you get a phone call?
No, I got some texts that kept coming in.
I got you. Yeah, I don't know if he can see the comments either with it being, it looks like which Matt's gone now. Matt has to let him back in so we can talk about Matt and
No, you can't.
He was not going to let that happen.
I'll let him back in when he comes. But here he comes.
Thanks,
Here he is.
TR. You killed my phone.
TR call you?
Yeah.
Now I can't hear.
I thought he was
I
watching
hear
it.
Jason now.
He
but
was.
can't hear me.
He must have ran out of crayons to eat.
That's funny.
Yeah, I had to
Now
backslam back
Jason's
out of it
gone.
and come back in through the text message you sent.
Now Jason's gone.
All right, so we'll go back to comments. Jeff Rittenauer says, "I hate going behind the untrained dog." I actually like going behind them. I'm the oddball. I like the tough tracks. I like going behind someone's untrained dog and finding the deer behind them. Just
That was when I first started, that was an accomplishment to go behind another dog, even a trained dog, somebody that couldn't find it. I thrived on that. That was something special to be able to go behind a tough situation or 10 or 12 people that had walked 2 or 3 hours. Yes, that was something to say that you have done. But, when you're getting 12 to 15 calls a day, and on those days where it's 27 and 30 calls a day, I don't want to do that.
I'll still do it. I don't know. I'm weird like that.
I used to be really weird about not
Now, I'm
like
not saying that I want to come help you drag your deer out of the woods either, because I don't want to go out there and find deer at 30 and 40 and 50 yards. That is not what I'm here for. I want to find the deer that you can't find. Go look for it. Give it effort.
You can ask anyone that networks with me, and most of the tracks that I give away, like if I get a 20 or 30 call day, I typically take the tougher ones.
Yeah.
I enjoy the tougher tracks, even if we don't end up with a deer on the tailgate. That's some of the best dog work I've ever seen is on non-recoveries.
Yeah, me and Jason had that same comment. Some of the best work you'll ever see a dog do is when we come up empty-handed and disappointed.
Yeah, isn't
when
that
when you learn to recognize that and acknowledge that,
yeah,
you lose that disappointment and you're satisfied with what your dog did.
I'm disappointed every time I don't put one on the tailgate.
I'm not. As long as my dog did its job and told the story.
Yeah.
I mean, don't be wrong. I want to tailgate every deer.
Right.
But I'm not. The only time I'm upset is if the dog goes out there and just doesn't perform.
Doesn't perform, yeah.
Then I'm upset. But most of the time, that's because of me.
It's either that or it's because there's nothing there. There's nothing to find.
Well, I mean, like if I pull another dog out of the box and they get the job done, then I'm all right. What the heck's going on?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't happen often, but it does happen.
I've been there with Roxy too, but it's my patience, because she requires a little bit of different. She tracks totally different. She works different. She wants you to go with her. She wants to just the way she was trained. She's trained on lead, but she wants you to be within 50 or 75 yards of her, walking with her, and she'll come back and check in. She'll go that line. She'll turn around and look for you. You walk another, then she moves on down the line.
What breed is Roxy?
And I'm not that guy, you know, because I've had gator that just you drop him shot sight, he's 500 yards deep in 5 minutes. You know,
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. What breed is Roxy, Brian?
What breed is Roxy?
she's Gator's daughter.
Okay.
Okay, so she's a Walker too. Yeah, thank you. Sorry.
So
Her mama
I
was the running dog.
I get a lot of people that they get frustrated when they have a dog like that, and personally, I've learned to appreciate a dog like that.
Yeah.
And the reason why is because when things get tough, and or you see things change on a trail, like you know, for instance, you think you're going on a shot, and all of a sudden, you know that it's supposed to be a good shot, and all of a sudden you find gut matter, and it's
Yeah.
you know, it's an hour and a half after it's been shot.
Yeah.
Well, now you have an opportunity to back out before you push it off the property.
Yeah.
You know, it's there's advantages and disadvantages to both. The disadvantage is you're going to walk every inch of that trail.
That gut shot could be laid down there 250 yards in or 75 yards in, and you got him jumped before you even realize what's going on.
Yep.
And sometimes that's inevitable. You're not gonna.
Yeah.
There's telltale signs of that most of the time. You're gonna get a lot of white hair in that situation or something.
Sometimes.
Everything with white hair lay for 12 hours, and that's my intent on it.
So let me ask you. I wish Brian could hear me.
I'll throw another one at you. I got a drone too, so I do a little bit of both.
So I had a drone. It just in my area, it's just not realistic to use. It's too thick year round.
Yeah. Yeah, y'all's is tree. You never lose foliage, probably.
No, and it's just thick, nasty. You know, I could go into, you know, I could drive an hour north in South Georgia, some of that plantation country, and it's great.
Right.
You know, you could fly that thing up and spot a deer, you know, half a mile away sometimes, just from fly it up.
And it's Mr. Norman told me whenever I got that thing that I was going to spend 2 more hours on every track, and it was going to slow me down, and he is not wrong. I'd tell you a story about I went on a track on a friend of mine's property up in Lounsburg and put on a deer for his cousin, and with the drone. They were wanting to see it operate. You know, I pulled the drone out first. I flew it, and I looked at deer and hogs, and just for 2 hours, we flew for 2 hours and showed him every live animal out there. Well, whenever I got done burning up 4 batteries, we put the drone up, put the collar on Gator, dropped him, and what I say, it's like 37 yards or 70 yards. The deer was within 70 yards, dead and eaten by coyotes. We couldn't see him with the drone, but it took all of 2 minutes for Gator to find him, and I'd spent 2 hours with the drone. Yeah. So there's pros and cons.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Here, let's take this comment. Chuck Darby says, "Watching a dog work through problems is what it's all about. The hard track." Yeah, I know it. The hard tracks is where a well-trained dog shines. You know, and I agreed, Chuck. I love watching the problem solving.
Pretty sure Kenny's the only one I can hear at this point.
Can you hear me?
I'll try to call you again.
No, I don't know what happened.
Yeah, he can't hear me, Jason. I don't know what to say or do about that.
Yeah, so basically he was just reading the comment where, you know, he already took it off of there, so I can't even read it back now. But
here, hold on.
Darby was saying that he knows testing dogs, you see the dogs have to slow down and work much. No, that was a different one.
Oh yeah, hold on. Yep. There it is.
Yeah, watching a dog work through problems, what it's about, the hard tracks where a well-trained dog shines, and you're not wrong. And you know, I want to touch on something about you with your dog, Brian, and this is something I tell everyone. Can a dog learn to track a wounded deer without training? Or yes, they can. But when you put in the work and you run those mock tracks, you shorten that training curve by a long shot, and you don't have to fight through the battles of breaking bad habits that are created by just turning a dog out.
And what it's going to do for you is teach you what your dog is doing on those mock tracks too, I believe.
Yep.
You're
You gotta learn to
gonna
read that
more
dog.
about how your dog is working while he's running that track. And then when you get in the woods running a deer track, you say, okay, I've seen this before.
Yep.
I understand what he's doing because this is what he did on that.
Yeah, that's right. And Kenny, telling what I'm saying here, but your test is a perfect example of that, Brian, where that 90, he got caught up in that 90. That probably happens a lot in the real world. And now you can recognize that as probably when your dog is swirling that he's at a 90 probably, or some kind of a turn.
Well, what he said is basically now after running your dog on this test line and going the dog going through that 90 and circling, now when you see that on a real track, you're going to think back on that and say, okay, we probably had a turn right here.
Yep.
You know, so that's value that you took out of that test you may not even have realized at the time.
Whenever we ran it and he was doing that, I was reading it as a turn. I knew that something had happened right there. I told Jason, I said, something happened right here. It didn't go that way. I can tell you, the deer did not go where he's trying to go.
Okay.
It turned, and I was looking across a sage field that was, 3 feet deep in sage, 4 feet deep in sage to my right, and I'm like, surely not, surely not. And that's where Gator kept trying to go. He kept trying to go that way, but that's where the wind was coming from, and he was trying to figure it out, and he kept circling and making that loop, and finally, when I had to call him back, he went left into the woods. And I kept telling myself, we got to get this thing in the woods. We got to get this thing in these woods right here so I can have some cover and some scent.
Yep. Let's see.
And I tell people that all the time. Open field tracking is terrible. It's hard. I just want to get to the other side of it as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And that's something else you do learn running training lines and training in different terrain. Not only do you learn how scent works in that situation, but also you learn how to help get the dog out of that so that you can progress quicker. Because sometimes, like you said, you have 20 or 30 tracks lined up, and you come to an open field that your dog is going to take a lot of time to work that, and you want to get through it. Well, when you've practiced that on mock tracks and you know how to read that dog, and you can bypass that field and work that edge and watch that head snap and pick back up on the trail and progress it, you probably cut out 40 minutes of that track.
When we get to an open spot like that, generally I will walk the perimeter of the field. Let's take this thing around it instead of trying to go right through the middle of it, because the wind is going to affect you a lot at that point. If there's nothing there, wintertime, there's no vegetation on the ground to hold scent. We just, hey, let's walk this field and let's let him hit it leaving.
Yeah, I'm just cruising through some other comments here. Alan Barrett, 76 is badass. God, I wish Brian could hear me.
I'm going to exit and rejoin, see if I can fix this real quick.
There you go.
Just stop now, Matt Perry. I'm not sure what you're talking about there, but
Yep.
what do you think, Brian? You got me?
Yep, I got you now.
Yeah,
right.
TR tried to call him again. He's going for another crayon.
Well, good. That'll be a lot better here. Let's see. What, Kenny? If you see a comment. Perry dogging me. Y'all don't let Matt have any more pendulums spelled the way he pronounced it. Apparently, I said pendulum instead of pendulums, and I remember that because I was starting to say something else. Pendulum, I don't remember what, but yeah. All right, Perry, you got me, buddy.
Let's go up here to Michael Pritz Jr.'s, just under Ethan Young's 800 to 1,000.
Okay, let me go back up. Yeah, that long. Yeah, right here. Go ahead.
So Michael says, I am on my second dog, and I trained my first dog with some minor mocks and mainly trained him off dead deer. Every person I know that shot one, or if I shot one, he went on it. Don't get me wrong, he did good, but my second dog, I followed Kenny's guide, and I tell you what, my second dog is improving faster and quicker than the first dog. Now, some of it could be breed difference, but honestly, he figures out problems quicker than my first dog did, which is what we just talked about. And
I've
you
had
have a
dogs
dog
in the
on
past
that.
where I did the same thing. Just put them on every single dead deer. We was in bow hunting only clubs, and every deer that got shot, if it ran 10 yards or 1,000, we put it on it.
Yeah, and they're going to. You can.
But it's right with the training. It speeds everything up and helps them solve problems a lot faster.
Yep, and you know, looking back, you don't know how many deer you left in the woods because you didn't know. All you knew was I'm going to follow the dog, and it may be right, it may not. You know, you didn't have that handler experience or skills to get work through that.
I mean, let's. Jason's going to get, running practice lines is as much about
I've lost
you learning as it is the dog learning.
TR's blowing up both of their phones right now.
Is that why everyone keeps going off?
Can you hear me, Brian?
Can you hear Jason, Brian? No, Jason's gone.
Now I can't hear Matt.
Oh my Lord!
Boy.
Maybe that's a sign. We're an hour and a half in, and we're losing people left and right, and TR's calling everybody.
Oh boy!
You got me, Jason, or I mean, Brian.
Brian and Jason.
I got you now. TR call you, Jason?
No, he didn't call me.
Oh, okay.
I think it's all good now.
Gene Fair says, does training on lead not teach your dog to not venture away too far from you? No, it does not teach your dog that. You know, my dogs will range out. I have some that don't range out as far as others, but I mean, I train every dog on lead. Most of the time, you see that, it's that dog lacking confidence.
Whose comment was that, Kenny?
Gene Ferris.
Okay. Yeah, and that's interesting too, because Ethan and I talk a lot about training, and he trains today. His dog that's got several tracks still trains on lead, but tracks off lead, and there is no distance problem there.
No.
Some people, I mean, a lot of people in my neck of the woods, they want their dogs to work close like that. It is just, we're not accustomed to having our dogs out there.
Well, I can tell you this, my Draughtar, he has never worked a mock track off lead. You unclip that dog and you better be ready, because he is going to be gone and gone fast. And every single training line, every mock line has been on lead.
But he's confident.
Right.
Yeah. Confident and independent, My bloodhound, and I know we pick about bloodhound speeds and all of that, but if it's a dead deer in a good line, I'll call it, it's pretty common for her to be just natural pace about 70, 80 yards in front of me. So I'll say 60 to 80. She's been as far as 500 before, and that's a mile for me, and I will tell you this, the farther out she ranges, we don't find those deer. It's just her style, and she doesn't care about me. She's not looking or waiting for me. She could not give two hoots about me. She's just doing her thing at her pace.
Yep.
And
The farther out you go, the less you find. You know, we spend 2 hours a track, average, and we could have told them the first 15 minutes that we weren't going to find the deer. So
Yeah.
but that goes along with the farther you go, the less your chances get. We find dead deer. I'm going to say 90% of the dead deer you find, you do it within the first 10 minutes. Unless it's something astronomically old and the coyotes have run out it or something like that. Most of them are done within the first 10 minutes.
Yeah. The recoveries don't take as long as the non-recoveries.
Now, what I've learned over the years is I'm straight up with them before I even go. I tell them, hey, this is what I think, and this is what my dog's going to do. And I've cut that 2 hour time down to about 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I
tell them the same thing, but I haven't figured out how to cut the time down yet.
I just do it. I'm just very direct. I say, hey, if you want to call someone else, I will gladly call someone, and when I first did that, I'm not going to lie. I was like, yeah, I'm going to start losing tracks. What I found is 9 out of 10 people appreciate that more because you didn't waste their day.
Yeah.
And that was it. So back to the drone thing, that was kind of my intent of the drone, is to be able to go out there and tell them, hey, this is what's happened. This is, before I ever put a dog on the ground, this is what I'm reading out of what you're saying and what your situation is. This is where it went. And you still have those doubts of that hunter. So the point of my drone was to show them that deer's not laying there dead. That was the whole reason I bought it. We're going to put this dog out there. We're going to run that track. He's going to go 275 yards. He's going to lose scent. He's going to come back to the truck. And that's where your track ends at. Then I can put this drone up and I can fly whatever out there in that direction and show you, no, he's not laying there dead. My dog is right. That was my intent with it.
Yeah, just another, to confirm with the hunter the dog's work. Yeah, another validation that you knew full well was going to be the result. But and that's the difference. It's hard. You can't blame the hunters for that because they typically pretty confident in their shot or believe that the deer is dead and they want their deer. So it's it's just, and they don't have the experience or understand really how dogs work and the things that we understand about dogs. So it's hard to be upset with a hunter when they have doubt about or hesitation.
Or their Creedmoor kills everything.
What's that?
Or their Creedmoor kills everything.
Yeah, I suppose so. About like the I'm not gonna bash on a Caliber. I did my own little podcast on the Caliber. I was getting ready to
I'm gonna buy one.
Comment on a 6.5.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy one.
I got a kid in the other room that I could hand one to and never have a problem.
Yeah,
I imagine they like anything within their envelope. Probably.
Perry says mock tracks are great. I am a firm believer in them, but the way to surely know is running a mock track laid by someone else.
Yeah, run those blinds.
Yeah. So Michael Pritz, hop down there to Michael Pritz, said my biggest thing that I did that I was told was to put my BMC on a lead because he would totally blow past the 90s and just keep going. But something about that lead slows them down, and he works more methodically. I am sure y'all can explain it better than I can.
I don't know.
Well, I'll say this. I mean, if they blow past 90, I'm letting them blow past 90 on lead or off. But typically, you're going to have that dog work at your pace rather than you work at the dog's pace because you're not going to keep up with that dog. So, of course, you're going to slow it down.
He learns by mistakes just like we do.
Yeah, you got to let him make mistakes.
Problem solved.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But I think what Michael's saying here is just once he's clipped up, he just naturally slows down and doesn't miss that turn.
Yeah, it's because he knows that you're not going to keep up with him.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to feel that tension.
There again, have that man put him on somebody else's mock track.
Yeah.
And see if he knows, see if he can keep him from blowing it. Is what I'm saying. Because if you know where the turn is, then you can control him blowing that.
And that's a big problem that a lot of people, especially in the man tracking world, they teach if the dog blows past it, just stop and hold that lead. Give them 30 feet to work it. Well, you're not teaching that. All you're doing is teaching that dog when it gets into that lead. Oh, I feel tension. Something's wrong. I missed something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chuck Darby says, I went 4.99 miles. Chuck, most people just round that up to not 5. Not kidding, buddy. 4.99 miles on one this year behind a drone. And then I read that a few minutes ago and was getting ready to ask. He says, and they got the deer.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
that's the thing with the drone, if that deer takes a turn, I own one, but I'm not a proponent of just drone. So if that deer, because as he was saying, I've tracked deer behind, under,
Yep.
with, any which way you can do with a drone and my dog combination. That deer goes out there 300 yards, takes 90 degrees to the right, and he goes 500. That drone ain't looking there. That drone's looking the direction that the deer went. He's grid searching the wrong place. Because now there's no more. He's laying over there 500 yards to the right of where that drone's looking.
that's right.
Without that nose, it's no good.
So here a couple weeks ago, or I guess probably 3 weeks ago now, time flies, I got called to track an axis deer, and it was in a high fence property. I didn't know till I got there. 2 people had grid searched it pretty much the whole time we were waiting, because it was gut shot. So of course I told them we were waiting. They grid searched it and they put a drone on it. And I turned the dog out. I took my Bavarian. I had her on lead just because she's really methodical and very easy to handle. But I wanted to work on lead, so I put her on lead, and we're trailing, and there's no blood, and we're going down heavily beaten trails where these herds of axis travel, and we get, I don't know, about 275 yards in, and you could tell the guy was starting to question the dog, and he started to kind of wander off and look in certain directions. Are you sure she's on it? Yeah, I'm sure. And I said, yeah, we're gonna have your deer in just a couple minutes. I said, we're pretty close. She started picking her head up, and I knew we were right there. And we eased up to a road, and they were talking about how they drove up and down the road. They grid searched the woods. This is when the truth starts coming out. And I look up and I see the deer, and the hunter questioned, this time he's like, "Are you sure she's on it?" I said, "Yeah, your deer's right there."
Yeah. You know what? I'm just going to call the track. There's nothing more I can do for you. Well, why don't you go get your deer first? Yeah, I mean, they just don't. I get it. I would do the same thing if I didn't know what I know now, and I don't know squat now. But I know that dogs can track deer, and I know some pretty decent fundamental principles of what it takes to track deer and what they're doing. So, but when you don't, you don't. It's magic. I mean, sometimes. How many times have you guys recovered a deer that you had no idea how the freaking dog sorted that crap out?
Oh, a bunch.
A bunch. There is, I don't care. There is a magic element to it. We know all kinds of crap. I don't think we know near as what we think we know.
No.
You know, there's something about it, man. Fascinating to me. Like back, Brian, to what you said. I just love watching the dog work. I remember our very first recovery. That's one that I'll always remember because that's just the problem solving she had to go through was just. I still think about it, and I will tell you, it wasn't any big deal. She's done it 1,000 times since then, but back then in our first year when she was just 1 year old, and I could barely spell tracking dog, and she worked through it. It's just a moment that really sticks with me, you know, and I just love I love seeing that the problem solving.
Yep.
Okay.
And that's what training is about. It's not so much about the trailing. I mean, that's a natural instinct of a dog. I mean, you can. It's easy to get a dog to trail. The work comes in through the problem solving.
The way I've kind of associated it, and just my own rationale is, you know, the trailing is the dog just using its nose to follow, just using its nose. The problem solving is using the brain and the nose in conjunction with each other. You know, and I've really, you know, over the last couple of years, really shifted my thinking in training, in problem solving, and brain engagement. You know, because I've learned more. You know, I have more experience. I've talked to people who know more than me. You know, and learned more. So, and my thinking just continues to evolve and change. And what did I call it? A pendulum. You know, it swings over here, then it swings back over there. And I guess that's just normal. If you're always looking for ways to get better and continuous improvement, you should be thinking about those things and be open, receptive, and challenge. Here's another one. Challenge, you know, the conventional wisdom or the commonly accepted principles in the tracking world. I think there are some commonly accepted principles and conventional wisdom that are just that because somebody said it on Facebook, and now everybody believes it, and we all echo it.
Mule kick.
Yep.
Now, there's something to it. I mean, there's something to it, but I'm telling you, I'm really, really questioning if some of these conventional wisdoms are really wisdoms at all.
Yeah, mule kick, he's got to be dead, right?
Oh, mule kick. Oh, geez, yeah, mule kick. Yep. Well, he mule kick, so I'm like, yeah, that really doesn't mean anything. That mule kick doesn't mean anything.
I went on 3 different tracks this year that I showed him a live deer uninjured with the drone after putting a dog on him that couldn't track him. Hey, we can't leave the food plot on a mule kick deer with a video. You know, and the deer ain't dead. Well, look at him. Look, watch this video right here. He mule kicks. I don't care what he did in that video.
Yeah, means he's a little startled, really.
You scared the hell out of him.
Yeah.
You shoot at me, I'm a mule kick too, trying to get out of there.
I'm gonna do a lot of things.
Yep. Yeah, Perry again. No, man, I shoot a bullet over your back. Watch you mule kick. Yeah, I don't know if I'd mule kick. I'd probably turn inside out and hit the deck. I don't know what I do, but please don't do that. I don't want to find out.
So my wife and I, we were trained. We were in the woods here at the house, and my neighbor was shooting, target practicing,
Mm-hmm.
and we could hear him shooting. And we're coming out of the woods. We zoom, zoom. My wife said, "What's that?" And I grabbed her. We both hit the ground. You talk about spooky.
Oh yeah.
Then that happened on a track. I tracked at a federal I was tracking for the warden of a federal prison, and he was hunting behind the prison on the prison property. So we go back there, and there's like this kind of bowl-shaped area. Well, I hear shooting, and then all of a sudden I start hearing zoom, zoom, and I'm like, I say, "Hey man, we got to get out of here. Them are bullets." He's like, "Oh, it'll be all right. You know, we're back here all the time." So what it was, there was the prison range here, the city police range here, and the sheriff's department range here, and we're right in the middle of all of them.
No.
And let me tell you, you guys know if you hear that sound, that bullet was close.
It wasn't far.
And I was done. I pulled my dog. He said, I'll just bring the inmates out here tomorrow. We'll
Yeah, there you go. Knock yourself out, man. Yeah. Perry is I was shot in the lung. I didn't mule kick, but I left a good blood trail. Dang, Perry. Dang. All right, guys. I think we're there, man. Going on 2 hours. Great conversation. And I apologize for the interruptions, and listeners, I apologize for the. We're going to blame TR for the calling everybody. So we're just going to blame you, buddy, for knocking everybody's audio or audio out. But
and it goes to show that although he commented early on, he don't watch this. And he's the one that really needs to watch this.
Yeah. But guys, look, I appreciate you coming on, Brian. I appreciate you sharing your testing experience, and appreciate you, willing to share your conversion or realization of the value in testing. Doesn't mean that you're a ribbon chaser or anything, but there's some validity to it, and it's cool to hear somebody that at best or at worst was just indifferent about it to at one point anti to somebody says, okay, wait a minute, man, this is legit, so I appreciate that. And Jason, I appreciate you coming on and sharing it from your perspective and in the fun stories and the fun discussions, man. But
I couldn't help it. Aaron Blocker said he'd run out of crayons.
Yeah, I saw that.
On that note.
But Jason, I'll look forward to the text from you. Let me know when Brian's season test is. You guys should get together and at least do a mock season. Let him run one, Brian, just on some weekend when you guys don't have nothing to do. Do it before it gets hot.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, I bet it is. Time is valuable, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's baseball season at my house, fellas.
Oh, baseball season. All right, you're done then. Fair enough. All right, guys. Look, man, we'll go for real this time, man. I appreciate everything, and you guys got any ideas for something you want to talk about, or you want to join and share another story? You know how to get a hold of us, man. But appreciate it, guys, and more of the good.
Enjoyed y'all having us.
Yes, sir. Enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead and hang on for a minute here, guys, while I go turn us off. But thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening.